Well, hello everybody. Larry Young here again with another segment of OLaMan, Living Life with Purity. And today I want to take a moment to answer some of the questions that have been coming in through the email. And a lot of them lately have been about the Vatican changing the norms on the approval of mystical phenomena and spiritual activity, especially that, I think, surrounding the Virgin Mary and apparitions that are alleged to be happening around the world, both in the past and now and going into the future. I think what they're trying to do is to take a lot of this evaluation away from the local bishops, feeling that they're not strong enough in their own abilities to make decisions on these things. And I think they want to do is kick it upstairs to where they can look at these things by committee, if you will, or how they want to go about doing their determinations on these things. So one of the questions was, is people said, well, what is this going to have to do with Our Lady of America now in her approval? And I want to kind of go back. A lot of people, I don't think, understand what the bishops determined in 2020 and the documents that they issued at that time. This is the combined, I think it was 6 bishops that had determination over the messages that Sister Millie left in her diary, and because these things happen in 6 different diocesan areas over her lifetime. So each one of them had an equal, I guess, voice or vote in the matter. And what they all did was they basically kicked it into the arms of Bishop Kevin Rhodes of Fort Wayne, South Bend, because what they all determined was that the central or core messages having to do with this devotion all happened in Rome City, Indiana in 1956, and that falls under his jurisdiction. So that being said, they kicked it all to Bishop Rhodes, and he formed a commission, and he brought a number of theologians and probably other priests. I don't know who was on the commission. I know that a couple of people I met with directly on it, and I heard what they had to say. And what they collaboratively came about determining, there were 3 different decisions that they could have made at that time. And this is what the norms were regarding this that was going on in 2020. They could have said, it's absolute poppycock. There's no way this happened. It's dead. It's gone. Don't worry about it. It's dismissed. There's also, they could have said, yes, this did happen, most definitely. We need to act on this right away. Our Lady is here. This definitely did happen. There's no way to dispute it. That type of response, that wasn't what they did. So that's kind of tabled up to here for a little bit. What they did was they came upon the middle ground, and they said it's too factual, it has too much going for it to dismiss it, but there's not enough to put it in this category to where it's conclusive. So what they decided was they were going to park it and decide to see what the fruits were that came out of it going forward. And once these fruits, and when they see, everyone wants to see miracles and things like that. They always want to see physical healings and things of that nature, because that's what turns them on the most, and that's what they can relate to. But what Our Lady had promised in this one was more of like spiritual healings of the spirit rather than of the body so much. And that's where we're at right now. We have a very, what I want to call mentally ill and spiritually ill community. And I do say spiritually ill with a lot of experience in this. Not, well, maybe personally, who knows, people want to say that I'm crazy too. But what I've seen is a lot of people coming through that are so tight in their hope for dreams with their spiritual life and that of the confirmation of Our Lady of America, that they get so caught up in the language and the details, the legalities, that they have lost the spirit and the heart of what it is Our Lady's asking for. And I got in trouble over the years by telling people, this isn't a Catholic thing. So Catholics need to realize this isn't about them. This is about all of the children. And so what we need to do is understand that this has implications for all the world. And it's a cultural change that she's asking for. And she's asking us to live a life of purity. Now, that doesn't always mean just about your body and your temptations that go with that. It's about everything, how you go about your life, how you regard other people, how you, look at absolutes. The truth is the truth. And to bend things and to make a separate reality and try to make other people believe certain things that aren't factually or naturally true is enabling and is feeding into their mental illnesses and many times their spiritual illnesses. So the two go together, and we need to, like I said before, we have to become the steady fixture inside the snow globe. As they're shaking this whole thing up, and they're trying to distract us with all these things going on in the world around us, you need to make sure you're steady in your own firmament, in your own design, in your own purposeful intent as you go throughout the day. Now, when these theologians and the commission were going through the analysis of the messages of Sister Millie, the documents that I provided about physical healings and other things at the property over my time there, what had been witnessed and what had been stated by doctors and other priests and other people who have been involved in things. When all of that was forwarded onto this commission, I don't know if they actually looked at everything or they glossed over it, because they seemed to be caught on one element in the messages from Sister Millie, and that was of the naming of Saint Joseph as co-redemptor. Now, they freaked out about that because what they said was that it wasn't church teaching, and so it had to be disregarded. So there was an error in her writing, and so this couldn't have been perfected messages from Our Lady, because Our Lady wouldn't give you bad information. Well, in looking at it, Our Lady was correct, and it was the theologians who were wrong, because what they were doing in that moment is they had disregarded the fact that Mary and Joseph were married. And if they are ready to confirm and to determine by church teaching that Mary is a co-redemptrix, in that she brings the souls and the children to her son, that for healing and for determination of how their soul is going to go, whether it's going to enter into heaven, not be entered into heaven, or live in a state of limbo there, which is purgatory, and waiting for the final determination. That's Jesus's call, not Mary's, not Joseph's. But what the church also teaches is that by the sacrament of holy matrimony, two souls brought together in union with God, is that what one soul possesses, the other one inherits, and likewise the other way. And so if Mary was already co-redemptrix, it would be natural in the thinking that through their bonds of holy matrimony, that Mary as co-redemptrix would make Joseph, with their union of souls, a co-redemptor. Because Joseph is doing the same thing. No one's ever claimed that St. Joseph is healing them. Not that I've seen. But Joseph, by his display, by his example that he has left for men in this world, is basically bringing men and people to his son as well, that being Jesus. So they got caught up on this co-redemptor thing. And when I was in a meeting with them, this was on July the 15th of 2020, when we were being told no, no, no. And I stood up and said, well, I'm not stopping. That sort of changed the whole discussion at that point, and the bishop changed his mind and set up then another meeting with these theologians to come in to discuss the matters going forward. Well, they all came in September, then a couple months later, and they came in armed with this co-redemptor thing again, that this was a big hiccup. And I mentioned to them about how one inherits what the other one has through the sacrament of holy marriage and holy matrimony. And they said, well, that may be, but we don't know how to teach it. I just looked at them and said, don't let the facts get in the way of the instruction. You know, what they were doing is they were setting up this big barrier to moving forward with things based on their own thinking and elimination of the gifts of holy matrimony. So they were ready to deny on one side, accept on another, but they couldn't bring these two things together because they didn't know how to teach it. So the problem is not with Our Lady's instruction or what we are feeling in our hearts about things. It's about how the people in the constructs of the power centers and the control of these things aren't comfortable with being able to instruct on something, so what they do is they tabled it. So right now, where we're at right now is we're waiting for the academics and the priests basically to grow a pair and get themselves in alignment here with these things. And I think what it's going to do, it's going to take something of a monumental event here. The singular events are not going to persuade these folks. The Vatican has basically come down with that they're not going to accept little things of confirmation along the way. They want something big. They want a big display. They want the whole elephant in the room. And this is problematic, but this is the way they are right now, so we have to kind of deal with that. But in the meantime, we have to be confident in our regard for this and keep moving forward, hold on to it as if it has been finally confirmed. Much like people who pray the rosary each day. A lot of people are astounded to find out that the positioning right now of the devotion to Our Lady of America is right at the same level as that of the Holy Rosary. The Holy Rosary has not been confirmed. It's been approved. It is not a public devotion of the church. It is still a private devotion. This is one of the reasons I was told why priests are not supposed to lead the rosary in the church. They could lead it outside, but when they're in the church, if they start the rosary up and they lead the rosary, they're going against church rules on this, that this is not a public devotion. It's still a private devotion. It's why, and one of the reasons why the rosary sodalities were formed in these parishes, so that the lay people would lead the rosary in the church, in the sanctuary itself. For a priest to do it, they can participate in it, and that way they're private, but they're not leading it as the priest leading the rest of the parish in this. They're not supposed to do that. Outside, at a private event or something like that, more than happy. They're all private people at that point. But once a priest, as I was told, is in the sanctuary, he's representing his role there as a priest and leading his parish, they're not supposed to lead the rosary. They can participate in it, but they're not supposed to lead it. Now, everyone says, well, my priest does. He comes out and he starts it every morning. Well, he probably doesn't understand and probably doesn't know and is probably just trying to move the ball along. And no one has complained and no one offers up any resistance to this because most people don't know. And I only know because it came about as part of the investigation that we had to do as to what is approval statuses and things like that with this particular devotion. So things you learn en route to learning other things is kind of what we came upon that one. But there's lots of things. And as I understand it, there's only 2 public devotions of the church, and that is the Mass and the Holy Eucharist. And the rest of them are private devotions. And it may be wrong on that, and I'll be willing to talk about that in later forms. But as far as hierarchy of things, there's a lot of things that are in this middle ground as far as approbation and approval by the church at this point. They've been approved, they haven't been confirmed. So there's a big difference in the eyes of the church. And I think that's what this Pope is trying to do, and that his administration really is trying to do, is try to pull a lot of these things back in so they can centralize the control and the dissemination of information on these things going forward. So I know it's kind of convoluted. It's personal to me, and I know it's important to you, but I wanted to get that out there, that we're okay with this devotion to Our Lady of America. The only thing that's going to get this thing moved forward is for the bishops, in particular in the United States, to get strong and get confident, and to move this thing forward and confirm this and get her into the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception, as she's appealed us to do. Do I think it's going to happen? Not in my lifetime. I really don't. I just don't think that the fortitude is there. If it is, I'd be happily surprised like everybody else. But I think if the bishops were to do this now, it would set off a bigger firestorm than what the Harrison Butker speech did on May the 11th. It's going to set off a firestorm of people resenting that a group of people are trying to say that the Blessed Virgin Mary is Queen of our country. You're going to have so many people not agreeing with that and taking umbrage with that and wanting to fight in the streets. It will really be a bad scene. Not for Catholics. Catholics will be targeted. Catholics are already targeted. Get used to it, folks. It's going to get really bad. Yeah, but this would set things off, I think, even a bit more. So I think what we're going to have to do is go through this period of pain and this period of anger and resentment by so many people against Christianity in general and Catholics in particular. The Jews and the fight against Israel is just the tipping point. It really is. It's going to get a lot worse, and we need to understand that. So be strong, be confident. Don't let the sideband discussions take you off the fact that we're in a good spot right now, just like the Holy Rosary. So let's keep up with our purposeful intent of trying to live a life of purity and all that goes with that. And let's also, realize that with that prayer, that rosary, it's very, very important for our country right now. So if you can't say a daily rosary along with Cardinal Burke with the 9-month novena for our country, please take a moment to sit quietly and recommit yourself to trying to sort out these crazy things going on around the world. Distance yourself from it. Make sure you know where you're at, know who you are, be confident in that, and realize I love you, and I'll be back.